Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Culture Schlock podcast. My name is Zach.
And I am Danny, and we are so glad to be back. We had a great time making the first episode. We got a great
Yeah.
response to the first episode. So we decided that you would listen to us again if we really wanted you to. So here we are.
Yes.
Today we have our podcast's very first guest.
Woohoo!
This guest chose our topic for today. So if you have a problem, you got to bring it up with him. This guest is a friend of mine from high school, and I'm really excited to introduce him. Everybody, clap in your cars for Rob. Rob!
Woo! Like, keep your hands on the wheel though while you're clapping. You got to be safe. Clap with something else.
Clap one hand against the center of your wheel.
There you go.
Honk if you like meeting Rob.
Hey, how did you know what bumper sticker I have?
Well, it's good to be here. I want to thank Danny for that very good introduction that she nailed on the first try.
Are you going to out me like that?
So, Rob, so as Danny mentioned, you're the one who picked the topic out for us today. So, what beautiful topic did you line up for us this evening?
Well, beautiful is the best word to describe it, Zach. I would like to discuss a topic with which I have a great morbid curiosity, let's say. The one and only Ke7in James. He is a titan of film and television with an expansive body of work.
So was there anything in particular? So you said you got a morbid curiosity for Ke7in James. Was there a particular catalyst for getting you interested in Ke7in James? Or
I guess the question is, why?
Yeah, that's
Ke7in?
what I'm getting at pretty much.
Well, I mean, for decades, centuries even, society has wondered why Ke7in James is working at all and why he keeps showing up in movies and things, why Adam Sandler cares so much about his career. But I think what got me here today was I was talking with Danny about the hit sitcom Ke7in Can Wait, the second of Ke7in James's identical sitcoms. And as some listeners may already know, in the first season of Ke7in Can Wait, he has a wife. In the second season of Ke7in Can Wait, that wife is dead, and Leah Remini has come back to play the leading lady.
It's astonishingly obvious that they just killed off this character and fired an actress because they're like, oh man, we can get Leah back. That's just like King of Queens.
Oh man, yeah, Ke7in James is definitely a curious fella. I have to say, I don't even know if I told Danny this when we were trying to get the episode set up, but my dad, his whole life, people have told him he looks like the King of Queens whenever he wears a ball cap, because they do have a very similar build and facial shape. So
I find that interesting because I don't think I've ever looked at a human being and seen Ke7in James because he is very nondescript.
Well, my dad's kind of he's got one of those nondescript faces, I guess.
Okay.
So for me, Ke7in James has always been like a second father figure. It's since people see Ke7in James in my dad, I see my dad in Ke7in James. So.
And that must be rough because Ke7in James has never played a good father.
But in many ways, he is America's dad.
No. Don't take Tom Hanks's job. He is America's deadbeat uncle, please.
Tom Hanks is America's dad, who was your dad at birth, but then Ke7in James is America's dad when your mom remarried, and he kind of sends you to bed with no dinner a lot and eats that dinner as he sends you to bed, your dinner.
Thank you for clarifying.
I just wanted to make sure he's eating his dinner and your dinner.
He would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very Kevin move.
So we all did a little Ke7in James homework / research for the episode so
Mhm.
that he was really fresh. His works were fresh on our mind. Me and Rob planned to watch both seasons of Ke7in Can Wait, but getting about 2 or 3 episodes in, we quickly realized that was not gonna that we didn't have the endurance for that. So we split it up. I watched season one, he watched season two, and then he watched an episode of season one so he could meet the wife that's gonna die for all of his season. And I watched the first episode of season two to see how they handled it since I knew the wife. I don't know what else Rob watched. I watched Chuck and I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry, which I have lots to say about, but we'll get to it. So, what did you boys watch?
Well, you guys have greater endurance than me because I don't know if Danny told you this, Rob, when she told me you were going to be on the podcast. She texted me and said, "Hey, my friend Rob wants to be on the podcast and he wants to do Ke7in Can Wait." And I believe my text back to her was, one, oh, cool, that's great. Two, is that real? I did not believe there was a sitcom called that. So, like I said, you both are braver people than I am because I refuse to even indulge. I hate TV sitcoms, period, and I just knew I couldn't do it.
One day on the podcast, we need to do a game show style game where I give you names, and some of them are sitcoms on CBS,
Oh no.
and some of them are made up, and you have to
Jesus.
predict which ones are real.
I would love that. Actually, it would be a nightmare, but I would love it. But
I would then
my
explain to you what it's about, and all the descriptions would be the same.
my area of expertise when it comes to Ke7in James was a movie I had never seen before, actually, which I found at the thrift store. Lucky enough, it is Pixels. And the reason that one caught my eye is because when I found out we were doing the Ke7in James episode, I just was kind of scrolling through his filmography to see if there was anything interesting. And the name of his role in Pixels is President of the United States, William Cooper. And I said, oh, neat. How can I miss out on Ke7in James playing the commander in
Wow.
chief? So that
Good for Ke7in
is
James.
Shoot for the stars, he got there.
exactly. He's playing the president, so I could not resist. So that is what I'll be taking a look at.
Okay, what about you, Rob?
Yeah, aside from Ke7in Can Wait, I also recently watched I think the first Grown Ups. It might have been Grown Ups 2. I honestly have no way of knowing for sure.
Oh man.
So what should we talk about first? General stuff? Jump into one of his projects?
If you guys want to talk Ke7in Can Wait, I would be interested to hear more about this than the brief synopses that I've read online.
Okay. Well, a synopsis for our listeners. It roughly Ke7in James is Kevin. He is a retiring cop who's really excited to not contribute to his household. But he finds out that his daughter wants to drop out of college to marry her boyfriend.
Gas.
And he goes, "No way, Jose." And he offers to let them live with them, him and his wife, and his other 2 kids, who I literally never learned the names of.
Yeah.
I don't even think I could name the daughter that's getting married. But so they offer to take them in, and like the pilot ends with them being like, "Ooh, we didn't plan for these expenses."
Oh god.
So it's like, oh, Kevin doesn't get a normal retirement. He's still got to contribute.
It looks like Ke7in can wait for his retirement to kick in, you could say.
No, he can't. He's
Oh.
the main takeaway from most episodes is one, Kevin truly cannot wait. And two, Kevin will always lie to get out of any situation, even if telling the truth would be just as effective.
Neat.
So I took lots of notes, but they really just devolved into caveman speak because that's how intelligent the show made me feel. Every joke's pretty lazy. It's the ultimate boomer show. They make fun of everything boomers hate and never really reflect on Kevin's flaws in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
The fiance's name is Chael, and he's a skinny, lanky British nerd in tech. So, in the 80s mindset they're still in, he's the ultimate beta male, even though right now in our society, people in tech are kind of running the show.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to get on the ground floor with him, but okay, Kevin.
Yeah. It really strikes me as they're trying to, just based on what I read and what little I saw in clips and stuff. They were even before season 2 when they kill the wife off and replace her. It was like they were really trying to like vibe with that OG King of Queens kind of vibe. Like this show feels like it's out of like the time. Like it feels like it's an older show, but this is just
Every CBS show feels like it belongs in the 90s.
yeah,
I'm not kidding.
yeah.
It is very much the crystallization of every family sitcom from the 20th century.
CBS did not adapt. I really quickly want to talk about the wife because I got to know her over the season and knowing that she was going to die. So I went into the show assuming she was just going to be normal, naggy sitcom wife. These guys don't really work that hard. They would just give him a generic wife who is more lenient than they deserve, but also super naggy and won't get off his back. But she actually is just as bad of a person as Kevin. Kevin's wife is a school nurse.
Mhm.
And throughout season 1, she illegally accessed medical files in hopes of getting her son a friend,
Oh boy.
and
Wait.
then proceeded to try to break the boys up when they didn't like the parents. She is threatening poor medical care to kids who aren't kind to her.
Oh Jesus.
She was ready to commit insurance fraud. Shout out to Chuck and Larry, I guess.
Hey.
It's just insane to me what she's willing to do. There's also a season 1. Okay, there's a season 1 episodes that I shit you not is Christmas with the Cranks, but with Halloween. Also, first pilot episode before the Kevin Can Wait title and little ditty appears. Before this time, so very brief window, Kevin manages to call his wife a prostitute.
What?
A strong start.
You're not even going to ease me into it. You're going to immediately call her a prostitute. I've been talking a lot, but one thing I wanted to make sure I got in was I told Rob and Zach about this. As I was watching, I started making a list of things that are not manly, according to Kevin James. And this really sounds pretty caveman like, and I'm gonna read it as I wrote it, because okay, you hear that? I literally wrote it on a piece of paper.
That's how much it made you into a caveman. You de-evolved, even though you had your cell phone in front of you ready to take notes. You started eking and ooking and slamming it onto the ground.
I literally had to write it because I had so many feelings. So things that are not manly. Computer nerds. Boy cooks.
Oh,
Exceptions for boy cooks if you can profit off of them. Prioritizing your wife and kids over guy time.
oh my!
Exceptions for when everyone else is busy. Being honest, very unmanly. Kevin James is the manliest man there is. Being honest, that's for wussies. Men having feelings, naturally.
Of course.
Compromising with your wife. Paying attention to your wife. Eating healthy. Household chores. Book club. Book not about sport. All music, exception Karaoke.
Wait. I just want to clarify on the record here. Ke7in James does not like when people can play music.
No, but he has been kicked
Okay.
out of 3 karaoke bars.
That's going to be a very important point for the series
Oh
finale of
no.
Ke7in Can Wait.
Right.
Dressing nicely for a date unless you're on a man date with Adam Sandler. Being vegan. Remembering your anniversary.
Oh my god.
Man buns. Pitch perfect. Your wife knowing more than you about anything.
Yeah.
Tucking in your shirt. Paying to get your wife surgery over buying a grill.
Oh my god.
Entire episode dedicated to this.
Oh my god.
Trusting your wife. Moisturizing. Except that immediately after he says that that's not manly, his wife goes, "You moisturize." Apparently, Ke7in is the mythic exception.
And then in the next episode, she dies. Coincidence? I think not. It sounds like just that distilled is giving me what is it? Home Improvement vibes. Like just Tim the Toolman
Mm.
Taylor being that toxically masculine father. Like I honestly think Home Improvement is responsible for my disdain of sitcoms, because growing up around the time I did, that was still really popular, and I remember a lot of my friends and I think even my parents liked it a lot, but I never could stand it. And that list just gave me like Vietnam flashbacks to Tim Allen going
I I think Ke7in Can Wait is a lot like Last Man Standing, the more recent
Mhm.
Tim Allen sitcom. There's
Yeah.
also a Matt LeBlanc version of this show. It's this show is everywhere.
Yeah. Ugh, jeez.
And much like Tim Allen, Ke7in James does frequently just make animal
Yeah.
noises.
When you have nothing to say, just go. But yeah, Ke7in and Donna are super awful to their kids.
Mm.
I mean, Ke7in's awful to everyone. He's equal opportunity awful. But they call their kids, not the one in college, the 2 younger ones, who I have no real information about.
Mhm.
They call them dumb to their faces. They also threaten to call immigration on Chael because he's British, and I'm supposed to not think that's super harsh and scary. Like, Jesus Christ, he just said something you didn't like. You don't have to deport him. So, Rob, tell me about season 2.
Yes, so season 2 of Ke7in Can Wait is something of a paradox because it is simultaneously the exact same show and a completely different show. Uh, based on the synopsis that I read about Ke7in Can Wait before going into all of this, it said that Ke7in retired from the police and had to spend more time with his family and became more involved with his family's problems that he didn't know existed
Mhm.
before and all that jazz. Season 2 of Ke7in Can Wait, his family are the least significant characters in the show. The entire season is focused on a new security company that he and Leah Remini have started to, or actually, she started the security company. He just sort of takes over
But that's what he
in the
does.
second
In every
episode.
job he's ever had, especially in season 1, he just decides he's in charge.
It's like she starts a company called Golden Phoenix
Oh
Security,
hell yeah.
and in I think it's like the second episode of the season, the episode is all about how Ke7in needs to get back out there and go back to work and get his life back on track after the vague death of his
Yeah, they
wife.
never explain what happened to her.
Do they really not?
Yeah,
I know she dies off screen, but do they never even like?
They're just like, it's been a year.
Oh my god,
it is horrifying.
that
What
poor
happened?
actress.
Fun fact, 2 episodes before her final appearance on the show in season 1,
Mhm.
she and Kevin talk about how they would move on from each other upon the other one's death,
Oh my god.
which reads as super morbid and scary when you know that they're gonna kill her off for no reason.
I wonder if they knew, or if it was like, if it really was a choice they made between seasons. I wonder if that was actually genuine foreshadowing or not.
No, I don't think it was, because it felt like they had the opportunity to have Leah come on a guest spot, and they're like, yeah, then we can advertise on the King of Queens reunion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then one reason or another, she, like, on the set of the finale, she's like, actually, I now have time. I could come back if you want it. And they're like, oh my god, we have to.
On second thought, I really need the money.
Sorry, continue, Rob.
Now, let's go ahead and do the deep dive on the wife's death before I get into how Ke7in exists in a world devoid of consequence. So, the death thing, right? The season 1 ends on a bit of a cliffhanger
Uh-huh.
where no one has jobs anymore. Kevin's retired. His wife quits her job in the season finale. The British fiance was rich for a second, but then the startup he's working for goes under. So I think it's just the oldest daughter that has any form of
And she's a
employment at that
waitress,
point.
so, like, she's making
Right.
money, but not enough to support 7 people.
So, like, season 1 ends with them being like, man, how are we going to support our family? And that's just the end of it. Season 2 opens with Ke7in James, like, he's making breakfast for the family. He looks at the mail, sees a letter
The
from
gym.
his wife's gym, and it's just like a generic, we haven't heard from you in a while. We miss you, like, business
Mhm.
letter. And he reads it and goes, yeah, me too.
But then his daughter takes the whatever postcard they sent, and she's like, I gotta call them. It's been a year. They need to stop.
And that is all we know.
Oh my god.
She's been dead for a year. In that year, Ke7in still has not gotten a job. British husband still has not gotten a
What the-
job. So for the past year, they have been supporting themselves on daughter's waitress
That
salary,
poor
I
girl.
guess.
Oh my god.
She's stripping too? Like, how?
Yeah.
But here is where my first morbid Ke7in James theory comes into play.
Oh, God.
We know Ke7in is a pathological liar.
He's psychotic.
I'm thinking he killed his wife to collect
Oh,
life
no.
insurance, and that's what they've been living on for that interim year.
Oh, they talked about life insurance in season 1 as a joke.
Oh my
Took
god.
it out against him. And he went, what a good idea.
Oh man. Ke7in, no.
So over the course of the season, they like reference her periodically, like less than once per episode she'll come up. And it's always in the context of like how it is affecting Ke7in.
Of course.
Like, you've been doing a great job since mom passed. Mom would want you to go back to work. You lost your wife. It would take anybody time to come back from
So he
that.
never once tries to comfort the kids about losing their mom?
No.
Nope.
Ke7in.
I don't even think he knows their names, so that can't be surprising.
So they do this whole big thing about how he needs to get back out there, get back into the world, start working again. And he goes to this Golden Phoenix security company, immediately just like declares himself a partner there instead of asking for employment.
He goes, I'm the king of Queens. You haven't heard of me?
And over the course of this episode, he keeps saying, like, Golden Phoenix is a dumb name. It sounds like a Chinese restaurant.
Oh.
You know what would be a much better name? Monkey Fist.
What?
Oh.
And the episode ends with him having super glued a sign in their office that's now Monkey Fist Security. And for the rest of the series, it is called Monkey Fist Security.
Kevin, no, why isn't anyone stopping him?
Ke7in is like, he's like a being of pure energy. Nobody can stop him. He doesn't apply for jobs. He just walks in and absorbs them into himself. And he can alter the fabric of reality beyond himself.
Every episode of this show is watching Kevin do something absolutely insane and narcissistic, and then wondering if the people around him at the moment will ever hold him accountable. And the answer is always they will not.
Ke7in James is like a shitty improv partner. He just comes on stage and does a really shitty bit, and you have to clean up after him.
He's Michael Scott on The Office. He just pulls out the guns every time.
So a driving force behind all of their like business motivations is that they can't afford the rent on their office, which is not at all surprising because at first it's just the two of them working there, and their office is like, I mean, it's bigger than my apartment, and they're working like one job a week, and then somehow they have the money to hire Kevin's Dutch neighbor. I think he's Dutch, right? Rutger.
He's
Hold on.
German. Okay. Rutger is a character who shows up like episode 17 of the 24 episode first season, and then he's just always there. And I'm like, I never heard of this person. He was never here. And then all of a sudden they're like, why don't we ask Rutger? And Rutger appears and is suddenly like a major player in the remaining episodes.
Rides into the room on a goat wearing lederhosen.
He might as well with the
Yeah.
way they talk about him.
Oh god.
He is probably the third most featured character of season 2.
Oh god.
It goes Kevin, Leah, Rutger, oldest daughter and fiance, Kevin's other friends, Kevin's other children.
There's a lot of space between Kevin's friends and Kevin's children.
There were multiple stretches over the course of the season where his children just did not appear for like 2-3 episodes at a time.
Same for season 1.
Some highlights of Kevin's utter lack of consequence for the horrible things he does. In order to secure a security contract, they like break into a toy store after hours.
Of course.
To like make the guy be afraid that it's going to get broken into.
Hold on, we run some mafia shit on him.
Kevin lies to get anything, even when the truth would work.
Yeah, I think the logic was originally Kevin was just trying to go back to talk to the guy again, but then accidentally broke into the closed store in the process, and Rutger had to come get them out because the doors were locked and they couldn't get back out.
God.
And then the guy shows up the next day and it's like, my store was broken into last night. I have to hire you. And he's got Rutger on the security footage, and they just never address that again.
Man.
There's also an episode where Kevin is going on a like morning talk show to get publicity for the security company based on he like delivered a baby when he was a police officer, and the baby is now grown up to be like a 18-year-old kid or something. So there's a competing security company that is sort of an on and off antagonist throughout the season, and the guy from that company also comes on the morning show to outdo Kevin's story with a story about how he donated his kidney to this girl in a wheelchair. And as he is doing his story, Ke7in rushes back onto the set and accuses him of lying about the kidney donation, and like pulls up this dude's shirt, tears off the bandage to reveal the still bleeding scar on live television. Yeah. And then the episode just ends and no one ever talks about it again.
Every episode should just end with, and it was never brought up again.
Yeah. Every episode in itself is its own season. They're all isolated incidents.
There's a woman in season 2 that I think is important to bring up. Her name is Wendy. She is another random neighbor of Ke7in
Oh,
James.
God.
She has been trying to seduce him. Sounds like since the moment his wife died.
Oh.
Maybe it
Like
was a tag team murder.
the timing of his wife's death is very confusing, because in the first episode they say it's been a year, then like several episodes later they established 3 months have passed since he joined the security company,
Mhm.
and it's Thanksgiving now, and he says it's the first Thanksgiving since his wife died.
That doesn't track.
And Wendy, the neighbor, says she's been going after him for 10
Ugh.
months.
She says that?
And that is in the Thanksgiving episode. She says that. But their relationship consists entirely of her fawning over Ke7in, bringing him lasagna and other various casseroles, and Ke7in just eating the food as if it was the greatest sexual experience of his
Oh,
life.
God.
That's half the show.
Mm.
And in both the Thanksgiving episode and another episode later in the season, they walk through the exact same story of Ke7in's caught in this food-based relationship with a woman he does not give a shit about. And everyone around him is like, Ke7in, this is not okay. And then Ke7in talks to her and tells her we can't keep doing this. And then 5 minutes later, they're like, but maybe let's keep doing
Of
this.
course.
Yeah. Jesus, I'm so glad I didn't fucking watch this show. I'll be completely honest with you guys. I'm having
I kind of hate you for it.
I'm having like empathy pains for you, but like I just can't even imagine if I had actually tried to do this. I don't know what I would have done.
It's been a while since I watched something that did literally cause me physical pain to endure.
Absolutely nothing about the show makes
No.
sense. It's indescribable nonsense garbage. Would you guys like to hear how the series ends,
Yes.
though?
Yeah,
Especially
absolutely.
since music has something to do with it.
Right. I'm sure everyone is expecting some grand resolution, some clarity about the death of his wife, any kind of conclusive moment. But what happens is Adam Sandler and Chris Rock are there, and it turns out that they used to be in a band with Ke7in James.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, Ke7in
You
James
lying
was
son of
in
a
a band
bitch.
for it seems like a long time. They were in this band together.
How could you do this?
All of their songs were about food.
Of course.
Over the course of the episode, it is revealed that he somehow, decades earlier, prevented Leah's then boyfriend from proposing to her, and she blames him for ruining her life because of that. The band gets back together. They play a show at the one bar that they go to.
Enzo's.
And Enzo's,
I hate
yeah.
that I know
Also,
this.
around halfway through the season, British husband starts working at Enzo's, and then by the end of the season, he and oldest daughter own Enzo's.
What?
Yeah, it's quite a journey.
Oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
But they're playing a show at Enzo's, and there's, I guess, a music agent there, some kind of producer. It just happens to be in the crowd, and comes up and asks to hear one of the songs again, but only from the guy that plays the keyboard, who was not Ke7in James or Chris Rock or Adam Sandler. I don't know who this dude was. He was just like their other random friend in the band.
I was there too.
And he was the only one who was a competent musician, I guess. so this guy gets a record deal, and Kevin James is like, "Oh man," and Leah Remini is like, "You ruined my life," and then the series ends.
I have so many feelings.
That's how we all felt too by the end of Ke7in Can Wait. Leah Remini was speaking for the audience.
Don't act like you know our pain.
I
You
don't.
didn't watch.
I know.
I can't believe he was so rude to Chael when he's been in a band. He like literally was like, "Oh yeah, I was in a band in college," and Chael was like, "Oh really? What was the band? That sounds wonderful!" Like being so supportive and like friendly. And Kevin's like, "It was called I Can't Believe You're Buying It, and our songs included the sarcastics, or just like." It was so sad. And now it turns out he was lying.
What a shock. Kevin James, after everything you've said, he lies at every turn he can get. Of course he did. He's an asshole.
You're right. I shouldn't allow myself to be surprised that Kevin's lying.
I've got one last fun fact about Ke7in Can Wait.
Can it be
That
called fun? Is it going to be fun?
it is. This one is a fun fact. After, I believe this was after the wife killing moment, a development started on a different show that has been picked up by AMC. It is produced by Rashida Jones and some other people, and it is lovingly titled "Ke7in Can Fuck Himself."
Thank you, Rashida Jones. I'm gonna have to check it out. Maybe it can help me feel like I reclaimed the time I just destroyed. So, Zach, you want to take us through Pixels?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So, Pixels. I want to preface this because here's I'll start off kind of with like this is an academic paper. Here's my summary of Pixels, and then we'll break down everything that's going into Pixels. So, for Pixels, the concept, just the base concept alone, you have to obviously suspend your disbelief a little bit, but the idea of aliens using old video game technology and attacking us with stuff that looks like the old video games, that in itself is not a bad idea,
I
especially
thought
with...
it sounded fun. It was when I saw the cast when I checked out of ever checking it out.
Exactly. And the fun thing, I don't know if you know this, Pixels was originally a short film. And it's a really short, like a very short piece of media that doesn't really have a plot. It was made by a French animator. I can't remember his name, but literally there's like no human characters. It's just that one day, uh, pixelated stuff that looks like old video games like comes down and starts attacking the world. And that was the short film. And I guess Adam Sandler loved it to the point where he bought the rights or licensed it or whatever. And that's when the shit hit the fan, when he started trying to insert him and all of his buddies into it, like he does all of his movies.
Take away Adam Sandler's money.
So, Pixels, believe it or not, Kevin James as the president is one of the most least offensive things in the whole movie. He certainly has his moments, don't get me wrong, where he's, doing the things you would expect Kevin James to do, but there's so much going on in this movie. So just to break a few highlights down, Adam Sandler, like everything else he plays, he's a weird, mean person, but he also is like the best at everything. In this case, when he was a kid, he was the best video game player of all time, but he never got his just rewards because another video game champion, who the adult version is played by Peter Dinklage, who you may know from Game of Thrones. He quote unquote beated him in a video game tournament, which sent him on a downward spiral. Like it made him not believe he could do anything good. So he ends up working basically for the Geek Squad. It's called the Nerd Brigade or something. Like it's like the most...
So this is a Chuck spinoff.
Yes, yes. But Kevin James is the president. The movie immediately starts up. It made me laugh, but not for the right reasons. The comedy in this movie is god awful. Like even by Adam Sandler, Happy Madison standards, the jokes in this movie are just not funny. Like the lie, like I would hate to see this in a theater because they leave little pauses so the audience can laugh. There were so many times in this movie where I was watching it in my bed, obviously, but there were so many times where a joke would hit and it was just like the silence. I was like, God, if I was in a
Are
theater,
you laughing?
yeah. No Adam Sandler, no Kevin James. I'm not laughing. But anyway, the first introductory scene, the movie starts off when they're kids and then it flashes forward to Adam Sandler and Kevin James talking in a bar. And they're just, of course, what else are they talking about? They're talking about hot celebrities they want to bang.
I can't
Um,
talk about anything else.
yeah, exactly. And they even lampshade it themselves talking because Kevin James brings up Katy Perry, and then Adam Sandler goes like, "Oh man, stop! This is creepy. We're getting older." Right before he said that, in my head, I thought, "Ew!" And then I was like, "Oh hey, the movie's doing my job for me." So
Oh, now
Kevin
you
James,
can't criticize us because we know it's creepy and gross.
exactly. And Kevin James is talking to Adam Sandler, and they're just like shooting the shit in the bar. And he's like, "Man, my job, like, I just this job is so stressful, and I feel like everyone hates me." And they haven't shown that he's the fucking president yet. But Adam Sandler was like, "Oh, you're doing fine, you're doing fine." And then as he stands up on the TV, it shows the president. It's like the president's latest gaffe, and it shows him reading a book to a classroom of elementary school children, and he tries to say the word catastrophe, and he says it is catastrophe, and a little girl in the audience corrects him. She goes, "It's catastrophe," and he goes, "Look, sweetie, I know what I'm doing, okay?"
Oh my god, what an overreaction.
Yeah. And then
Look, little bitch.
yeah, that's pretty much how the line is delivered. Like he like thrust his hands towards her, like he like points at her, and
Break out the C word? Jeez.
and in case you can't tell, if you can't tell what that heavy handed metaphor was, the way the scene is shot, it harkens back to when George W. Bush was reading the book in the classroom when 9/11 happened. And the whole Kevin James presidency in this movie is like a big parody of George W. Bush as president.
Were we supposed to like Kevin James?
And here's the thing, I'm not sure because literally every time somebody else other than Adam Sandler and like his cabinet, because there's so many scenes where he's like meeting with the cabinet about the aliens attacking and stuff. But anytime it shows a newscast, and at one point they're in Britain and the British soldiers are talking shit about him, everyone is like, he's the worst president. He's an idiot. He's so stupid. But in another parallel to George W. Bush, once the aliens start attacking and the very first time they get the upper hand and like scare the aliens away, everybody loves him. And it's just like George W. Bush, like everyone thought he was the worst president. And then after 9/11 happened and the war on terror, air quotes, started, everyone was like, "Yeah, George Bush, he's our leader, and he got a second term," and that's what everyone is like. "Oh, President, what's his name, Cooper, President Cooper, he's gonna get a second term. He's so good and so smart and so brave and bold," and it's so bizarre. But like I said, Kevin James isn't even like the worst part of this movie. The supporting characters, like Josh Gad, I
He has sex with Cubert.
yes,
No.
yes, Josh Gad is so like I people like Josh Gad, and I don't. Everyone likes who they like. I've never been a Josh Gad fan. This movie is Josh Gad not turned up to 11. He's turned up to like fucking 311. He's like constantly horny. His main character point is that he's horny for a video game character. And
Cubert.
no, it's not. It's not even Hubert. It's some girl. And in the
Well, he
movie,
ends up with Cubert.
He settles for Q.
and Hubert's like their friend throughout the whole back half of the movie. And there's a point where the video game girl Josh Gad's horny for becomes like a real thing, and he's like, oh, I love you, but then when the aliens die, all their constructs go away, and since she was a
Except Hubert.
construct, yeah, but Cubert stays. I'm getting to Cubert. I'm getting
Sorry.
to Cubert. Um, all the constructs go away, but Cubert's still there. And Josh Gad's like, man, I sure wish, I can't even remember her name, it was like Laser Lily or Laser Lindsay or something. He's like, I just wish Laser Lindsay was here. And Cubert out of nowhere goes like, blah, 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 and like looks like he's in physical agony as he transmutes into Laser Lily. And then she and Josh Gad make out. And just like every classic superhero movie, there's a credit stinger to this movie. I'm not sure if you're aware of this.
I
It says,
am.
it says 1 year later, and it's just off screen. You hear Josh Gad go, "Hey kids, Daddy's home," and then it camera pans from a black screen over to a baby crib, and multiple little baby Cuberts
They're
stand up. And go,
Cuberts. They don't
yes,
look like a normal person the way Cubert now does.
and they're all pixely and gross, and they're like, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," and it's just like, oh god, Cubert. And like Cubert, when he's transforming into the woman, it looks like it's causing him pain. It's like Josh Gad, his libido was so strong that it broke the pixel aether and reshaped Cubert into like basically a sex toy for him. The comedy is just so, and there's no chemistry between Adam Sandler and the lead woman. Like they
There
literally
never is.
yeah, oh no, but in this movie it's like god awful. Like he literally like negs her until she's finally like, okay, I love you, and that's pretty much their arc. Like he literally, all his dialogue before they finally fall in love, he's like, oh, you're snobby, you don't like me because I'm a blue collar worker. If I was a millionaire, literally there's a lot of dialogue. You're like, he tries to kiss her when she's drunk, by the way. She's drinking out of depression because her husband cheated on her, and Adam Sandler starts drinking with her, and he leans in for a kiss, and she's like, oh my god, are you trying to kiss me like I just met you? And he goes, if I was a millionaire and we were on my $1 million yacht, would you have leaned away from that kiss? Oh no, of course you wouldn't, because you're snobby. And then throughout the whole rest of the movie, he just constantly calls her snobby until they finally have their quote unquote moment, which is so forced. It's just awful.
So, real quick, I do want to talk about I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry.
Oh yes.
I mean, I don't, but I feel like we have to, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, this film is very paradoxical because by the end of watching it, you can feel how good the intentions truly were.
Mm-hmm.
And through the beginning of the movie, you don't get that sense at all. Everything is so no homo that the worst thing about this movie is how clearly straight everyone involved is.
Yes.
I mean, I know that we as a culture and society have really gained this vocabulary to use about LGBTQ plus culture.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's stuff that we say now that didn't really mainstream exist yet. So I do get that, but it's just so painful. So Adam, if for those who don't know, if you don't know, so Chuck and Larry are firefighters, and Kevin James' character is widowed, and because he didn't open mail in time, he has an issue with insurance, and
Mm-hmm.
he has two kids. I still don't know their names. And he needs to get insurance so he can protect them. So he goes, so I'm going to ask my best friend Adam Sandler to marry me in a super non-gay way so that we can commit fraud and protect my kids.
Yeah.
And Adam Sandler is, of course, the most womanizing man on the planet. He opens the door and he is literally having a party with all these women that he has been horrible to so far. They're all in their underwear and giggling, and he's like, why don't you start the party while I'm talking to my friend Kevin? And they're like, okay. So they commit that fraud, but then the agency is pretty immediately like, you guys don't seem gay, we're suspicious. So the rest of the movie they're working to prove that they're gay, but they're super not interested in proving they're gay. Jessica Biel is there as Adam Sandler's love interest,
Mm-hmm.
and the couple's lawyer. And she fully believes they're gay the whole time until it's revealed at the end.
Yeah.
But there's so much rhetoric and just jokes in this movie that hurt me to my
Yeah.
soul.
This movie
Like
was made like right at the cusp where like those, I don't know if you remember that old commercial where I can't, is it Jessica Simpson when they're like, don't say gay?
Hilary
Like,
Duff was in one for
yeah,
sure.
oh, it's Hillary Duff, not Jessica
Wanda
Simpson.
Sykes did too. No, there were a couple.
Yeah, and like this movie came out right at the tail end where like people using gay, like as a synonym for stupid, like, and like not being as politically correct with, like you said, LGBTQ and plus issues and everything like that. If this movie came out, I think even 1 year after it came out, like it would have been, it was trashed pretty hard. Don't get me wrong, but it would have been, I think, it would have killed Adam Sandler's career, honestly, because this movie might have been the wake up call for society, honestly. To
If only.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Only we could have just stopped her.
Listen, nothing can kill Adam Sandler's career.
he's like a cockroach, baby.
He is an unstoppable force.
The good intentions behind it are truly the only remotely saving grace about it. Because as the movie goes on, Chuck and Larry get discriminated against for being
Mm,
gay, and they're realizing how hard life as an openly gay man is. And there are a
yeah,
lot of sweet things that happen because of it, but at the end of the day, Steve Buscemi's there, and he should have run. But he's like, the courts are believing them because they're really good friends, and they do know that information married couples would know, and it's like kind of sweet. They're like, yeah, they're kind of less no homo now. So you're like, oh. But then Steve Buscemi, right as the court's about to totally rule in their favor, he's like, oh yeah, well I say you two should kiss in front of everybody.
oh, that was a good Steve Buscemi.
Thank you. And that is the one line they will never cross in their attempt to defraud the government.
Of course.
They're like, I want the money, but I'm not gonna kiss a dude.
Yeah.
It's like, really? You're in this deep, but you won't just kiss once?
Yeah.
They go to a gay party, a gay fundraiser, and there's actually it has one of those moments where they realize that they're being discriminated against, but they're talking to actual gay people, actual gay people.
Yeah.
And one of them's like, so which one of you's the woman?
Oh.
And I'm like, no gay person would ask that.
Yeah.
It's a recurring joke that Adam Sandler is the woman of the relationship because Kevin James is fat.
Yeah, he's the big boy.
Yeah.
He's wearing the big pants.
Yes. And like all the gay people are like, yes, Adam Sandler, you are the woman. And it's like, I know that Adam Sandler and Kevin James don't understand the concept of tops and bottoms, but
Yeah.
it gets the point across without being so heteronormative. And it's the whole movie, it's like, people can't be bisexual. And again, people on a whole, didn't super understand or
Yeah.
realize about bisexuality at that point.
Hmm.
But like, when all these women come forward saying they've slept with Adam Sandler because they want to brag,
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Are you even gay?"
It's a sliding scale, folks. It's not black or white. Come on.
And like he makes out with Jessica Biel while she still believes he's gay,
Oh my god.
and she has no concept that he could in real life possibly be attracted to both her, and his husband. It's just hard because we've come not so far. I wouldn't say so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've come far enough that
we have come a measurable
a long way to
distance.
go, but I think watching Chuck and Larry is like, you know what? We did make progress.
Yeah,
Remember when this was queer content?
yeah. It's sad. I don't know if you're aware of this, if in your research you knew this, but the movie was originally going to be directed by Tom Shadyac, who's the guy who did what's Bruce Almighty and Ace Ventura and stuff like that, a lot of Jim Carrey vehicles. And the original stars of the movie, I believe, I know one for a fact was Nicolas Cage, and then the other one was going to be, let me look it up actually because I don't want to get it wrong. It was either Chris Rock or it was Will Smith. Let me see.
We were robbed.
It was
We
Will.
were
Yeah,
robbed.
it was supposed to be Nick Cage and Will Smith, and it was going to be a black comedy, like a dark comedy. And it was actually going to be because Tom Shadyac, as a director, he makes good comedies, but he also tries to slip social messages and stuff in there. And it was actually going to be more like you said. Obviously, by the end of the movie, Chuck and Larry are less no homo, as you put it.
Except
But
about kissing. I'm not gonna kiss a dude.
yeah, but to my knowledge, what I remember reading was that Tom Shadyac, he actually wanted to make it like, no, this is going to be a serious movie with a serious message. And then just like Pixels, when Adam Sandler and his gang signed on, they turned it into like a dude bro party, uh, slapping asses, and all the gay people are super flaming nightmare that it became.
I think Chuck and Larry could have worked if at the end they realized they actually were in love.
Yeah,
I think that would have been hella cute.
I would have loved to
Even
have
with all the
seen that.
cringe-inducing straightness of the rest of it. I think that
Yeah.
would have been a cute resolution.
But they still wouldn't kiss. They love each other,
They
but they're still
literally
not going to
slept
kiss
in
a
the
dude. Are
same
you
bed
crazy?
together, but they will not kiss.
Yeah, that's taking it too far. Come on now. Come on, be rational here.
I wanted to tell you. So I looked up the Adam Sandler gang's net worths
Oh boy.
and got so
Sure.
sad. I want you to guess. So there's one, two, three, four. There's five. I looked up 5 members of Adam Sandler's crew, and I want you to guess where in this line Kevin James' net worth is.
Okay.
First being the most rich, fifth being the least rich.
Well, I would say the first has to be Adam Sandler. He's king of the castle. Yeah.
I am happy to I am neutral to report that he is the most
Okay.
successful and rich of them.
It's gotta be.
I bet you could guess the bottom. If you think really hard about the Adam Sandler crew, I'm willing to bet you could guess the bottom.
I mean, bottom of the totem pole's gotta be Rob Schneider, right?
Ding ding!
Yeah.
Adam Sandler has a net worth of $420 million.
Dude, he's got the funny 420 number. Hell yeah, Adam Sandler.
That's why he keeps making movies. He's got to keep spending and earning the right amount of money to maintain that net worth forever.
Rob Schneider's net worth is $12 million, which is $12 million too much, but it is
Yeah.
significantly less than everyone else.
12 million more than I'll ever see.
Yeah. Well, and it should be noted that Rob Schneider and all of his assets are part of Adam Sandler's net worth.
I'm pretty sure it's in his contract.
He's like the tumor. He's like a tumor on the back of
Actually,
Adam Sandler.
they detract Rob Schneider from Adam's net worth. They're like, here's how much money you have, and then we gotta factor in Rob Schneider. Okay, so you have the top and the bottom. I want you to guess where everyone else lies. Do you want the names of everyone?
Yeah, give us the names of the remaining 3 or however many.
So obviously Kevin James. This
Mhm.
conversation wouldn't happen without him.
God
Thank you,
bless.
Kevin James.
Yeah, God bless. God bless.
David Spade, who is my favorite because he
Oh,
tries the
yeah.
least in every
Mhm.
time. And Chris Rock.
Okay.
Sure. The cast of grown-ups.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's the cast of grown-ups.
Okay, so second after Adam Sandler. If this were the 90s or the early 2000s, I would put Chris Rock here. But I want to say it's Kevin James because I feel like of all those people, I feel like he's working more than any of them. Like David Spade
Yeah.
hasn't had I'm trying to think he had big things in the
The
2000s.
hit Netflix movie, The Wrong Missy?
Yeah. And Joe Dirt 2, which was a Crackle exclusive, if memory serves correctly. Um, so I want to put Kevin James at 2. Do you agree with that, Rob, or no?
I absolutely agree. I think, as unfortunate as it is, I think Kevin James is number two. I mean,
Mhm.
King of Queens ran for like a
Too
hundred
long.
years. It's actually, I learned this the other day. King of Queens is the last sitcom that started in the 90s to go off the air.
Really?
King
Wow.
of Queens actually never left the air. It is still airing new episodes every week.
In some parallel nightmare universe.
So the second place earner is a tie between
Oh,
Kevin James and Chris Rock at
okay.
$100 million.
Yeah,
And I
that's.
hate
So I was
that.
gonna put Chris Rock at third. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
put Chris Rock at third, but that's interesting that they're tied. Yeah.
Well, I don't get how David Spade is that low. I mean, I don't think he's good. He's at 60 million, so again, he's really
Yeah.
outpacing Rob Schneider still. But but he was in a Disney movie. And he was in what was he's been in I don't think I can think of a time where he wasn't on a TV show. Is he on one now? I would believe it because he was in a show in the 90s called Don't Shoot Me. He replaced John Ritter in Eight Simple Rules for Dating My Daughter.
Yeah.
He was in that Rules of Engagement TV show.
He was in that show.
Yeah, he's been doing tons of work. So how is he this behind Chris Rock and Kevin James?
I just feel like he's less, because if you think, like, for me, when I think David Spade, I think of, like, like Tommy Boy with Chris
Yeah.
Farley, and he's always been like the straight man, or like the supporting to the big comedy. And I mean, you're still
Hmm.
going to get a chunk of change for playing those roles, but not as much as like a big wig, like Adam Sandler. He's the lead in all of his shit because he makes himself the lead, and then Kevin
Except
James.
for his guest appearances on Kevin Can Wait.
True, true. He probably made more than Kevin James for those guest appearances, though. Yeah, he made
Kevin had
Kevin
to
give him some
beg
salary.
CBS.
Yeah.
Please pay my friend. He won't show up if you don't pay him.
I'm excited. Chris Rock was going to be the lead in the Saw reboot, but that got delayed because of the COVID. And I was really excited to see how that would actually happen, because I'm really curious to see Chris Rock in a Saw movie.
That sounds absolutely wild.
Yeah,
Well, I have exactly three more important things that I need to convey to the world about Kevin James.
Oh
absolutely.
no. Haven't we done enough?
So, thing one, I also recently watched a film called Becky,
Okay.
which is a very new Kevin James film. It's like an indie thriller kind of thing. It's sort of a reverse Home Alone. It's about like a family that goes to a cabin, and the daughter is like playing out in the woods when some criminals show up at the cabin and like take the parents hostage, and the daughter has to murder several escaped convicts to save
Oh
her
Lord.
family.
How old is the daughter?
Um, I'm not entirely sure. Definitely under 15.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
Somewhere,
if she's 16,
somewhere
that's fine.
in like the 11 to 15 range, I would
Oh
say.
no.
Hmm.
Uh, and Kevin James plays a major role in this film. Would anybody like to take a guess about Kevin James'
He's
role?
Becky.
He's Mackie. Yeah. is he is he the killer that she has to fight?
Kevin James is the escaped convict.
Oh
He is
no.
a murderous Nazi sociopath who has come to kidnap the family because like the key to his lost treasure is somewhere in the cabin or something. Um, but
He's
he's got like big beard, shaved head, and the movie opens with a shot of a giant swastika tattoo on the back of Ke7in James's head.
Oh my god.
Strong stars, strong stars.
It is the wildest movie. There's a part where he cuts his own eyeball out.
Oh,
Is there a reason?
He's sustained an injury that has caused the eyeball to like pop out of the socket, but it's still like connected.
Put it back in.
Nope. He grabs a kitchen knife, lays his head down on a counter, and chops the tendon or whatever.
And it works? He doesn't just chop his nose off in the process?
No, he gets it. He nails it. Ke7in
Oh,
James.
good for you, Ke7in James.
yeah.
We always knew you were going to be a competent killer.
This was after Kevin Can Wait got canceled after 2 seasons. That wasn't makeup, it was real. Ke7in James really did that. He came on the set and cut his fucking eye out.
He killed his wife for this?
I also have a theory about why Ke7in James is a part of Adam Sandler's little gang to begin with.
His gang.
His gang, the Sandler boys.
This one gets pretty bleak, but do you guys watch Community? Did you watch Community?
Yeah.
I've seen some of it, but not all of it.
So there's an episode of Community where Jack Black makes a guest appearance and tries to like shoehorn his way into the gang. And he says that like every group needs a heavy-set agile guy, I think is the way he phrases it. And I think there is some truth to that statement, right?
Yeah.
Adam Sandler's group needs a heavy-set agile guy. And if you look at the members of the Sandman's gang, it is predominantly his old SNL buds, right? Chris Rock,
Yeah.
David Spade, Schneider. They're all from his time on SNL.
And Rob Schneider's like, and Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider just kind of lived under the Saturday Night Live set when they started
He just
filming.
lives under Adam Sandler's house. And every time Adam Sandler leaves, he's like, you making a movie? Can I come?
No, you guys, Rob Schneider is so conjoined to Adam Sandler that when Adam Sandler did a guest appearance in a digital short for one of the SNL at Home episodes, Rob Schneider made a guest appearance in Adam Sandler's guest appearance.
Did I block that out? I remember that sketch. I don't remember Rob Schneider.
Oh my god.
But if you look at pre-early 90s Sandler content, the heavy-set agile guy is Chris Farley. My theory is that if Chris Farley were still alive, Ke7in James would have no career.
I buy that wholeheartedly. I wouldn't even say that's a theory. I'd say that's like beyond a shadow of a doubt fact. I think that's the case.
Mm.
Yeah.
If there was ever another reason to wish Chris Farley didn't die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think of the Shrek we would have gotten, folks.
Think of the Shrek.
Think of the Shrek, for God's sake.
That's what I say every day to motivate myself to get out of bed.
And my last Ke7in James fact has to do with the Paul Blart Mall Cop franchise that we mercifully avoided. But this is just for anyone who craves more of that sweet, sweet Ke7in James content in their ear holes, there's a couple podcasts. There's a podcast called The Worst Idea of All Time, I think it's called, where it's these two comedians from New Zealand who watch the same movie once a week for a year and do like a review of it every week after each watch. And they did one of their seasons, they watched Grown Ups 2 every day for a year.
Oh, man.
And then they also started a sort of mashup podcast with the McElroys of My Brother and Me fame, where every Thanksgiving, the 5 of them watch Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
Specifically, too. I love it.
It's called Till Death Do Us Blart.
Not even
and their
the
plan
first
is
one.
once every Thanksgiving from now until they die, they're going to watch Paul Blart and review it.
I don't know if I could do that. Even just researching this episode made me want to die a little.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could say every year on a holiday that I consider happy, I'm gonna sit down and watch a Kevin James movie. Specifically Paul
Yeah.
Blart 2.
It's fascinating the way it unfolds. I think around the third year they did it, they all kind of liked it.
Oh no.
Mhm.
So yeah, Kevin James is he has found his way into content beyond your wildest dreams.
Yeah.
Is the
A
point of
tradi-
that
Even his
anecdote.
wildest dreams. He's like, they're still letting me do stuff?
Yeah. He wakes up every morning and gasps, but he realizes it's not a dream, that he's worth
Got imposter syndrome.
$111 million. Yeah.
He's positive every day someone's gonna finally say, why do we keep giving this guy money?
And that's why all of his characters are lying, manipulative sociopaths, because it's the
Yeah.
only way Kevin knows how to exist.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
So there you have it, folks. There was our far too long discussion about Kevin James. And if you didn't like it, blame our guest.
Yeah.
And if you did like it, remember that we only scratched the surface of the Kevin James
Yeah.
iceberg.
We could make this a recurring segment if you don't be careful, if you aren't careful.
Oh no. Please.
So we wanted to tell you guys a little more in depth how you could be a guest if you wanted to, because Rob could probably tell you it's pretty easy to be a guest on this podcast.
I did it almost by accident.
Yeah. So he kind of just texted me after he listened to the first episode, and he was like, I got an idea. I was like, what? And he said, you could talk about Kevin James. And I said, why?
Ew, why?
And he was just like, I don't know, you could just talk about Kevin James. And then this episode was born. So the best way to get on is just contact me or Zach and just tell us you have an idea. We'll probably be down. We'll have to work on scheduling and stuff, but we'd
Yeah.
love to have you, especially the ladies, because we have a guest in the wings who is also a boy, and I love boys, but
I love boys. I love boys.
I'm a girl in an Adam Sandler movie. I love boys. We need more girls on because pop culture is not gendered.
Woo!
But we want to hear from all of you if you want to be on. You don't have to be on. This is not a threat.
If you listen to this podcast, you're going to get a call on your cell phone in a few minutes, and it's just going to say 7 days.
So that was our episode. Time to do our apologies. Anyone have an apology they want to throw out into the world?
I apologize that it's taken so long for us to get Paul Blart 3. I still think it
Is
needs
it
to
your
happen.
fault?
I mean, I feel like I haven't been campaigning for it as much as I should. You know, I stand outside of Sony's offices only 4 months out of the year. I could possibly do more and demand that we see more Paul Blart Pop-Tart, everyone's favorite superhero. Sony was able to get Spider-Man into the MCU, so I don't see why this other beloved character...
Where's Milkman? Where's Paul Blart?
Small security man, exactly. So yeah, I apologize we haven't gotten a Paul Blart 3 yet, but I'll work on it.
I apologize to Steve Buscemi for getting wrapped up in Adam Sandler's life. Steve Buscemi, if you ever hear this, because I know you will, I would like to apologize because you are better than this. I've seen you in better comedies. I've seen you in better dramas. You just deserve better, and I wish you would realize it and leave him, honey.
I would like to apologize to Erin Hayes, the actress who played Kevin's wife for
Donna!
one
Aw.
season. Uh, I'm sorry they did you like that, Donna, and I will not rest until I find out how you died.
Hashtag justice for Donna.
I was just gonna say I hope Erin Hayes moves on to better things.
Yeah.
You do deserve better, just like Steve Buscemi. But this could be the best thing that ever happened to you, Aaron.
Just like society will be better once we get Paul Blart 3.
I would like to start a petition for Erin Hayes to play the primary antagonist in Paul Blart 3.
Oh no, then I'd have to watch it.
She should actually not even play the antagonist. The movie should start off with Paula Blart saying, "It's been a year since Paul died."
You think his wife's name is Paula Blart?
Yeah, what? Paul and Paula.
That's the law of marriage, Danny.
Yeah, you got to change your name once you get married.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
It's okay. It's okay.
So I think that's about it for today. I guess I could say we had fun.
Yeah. It's like a group therapy session. We all worked through our trauma.
But thank you once again for listening to us. If you did tune in again, we appreciate it, to the moon and back or whatever. And whether it's morning, noon, or night, I hope it's a good one.
Yeah. Peace, folks.